Hello chess Neurites. Koneru Humpy from India has become 2024 Women's World Rapid Champion. A fantastic achievement for Humpy, who in 2002 became the youngest woman at that time to achieve the title of Grandmaster at the age of 15 years. She had won the World Rapid Championship in 2019 and has won it again in 2024. This time, the odds were stacked against her as she had lost the first game of the tournament, but she made an incredible comeback to win the championship. She scored 8.5 points and she won the last game on demand to win the championship. And in this video, we'll be analyzing that game of hers against international master Irene Sukandar from Indonesia. So, let's look at this game. Humpy has black pieces. It's a rook endgame with equal number of pawns. We'll see how she masterfully outplayed her opponent. So, in this position, she started with the move f5. The idea of this move is pretty clear. She wants to play f4, then try to exchange these pawns so that the d4 pawn can become an isolated pawn. So her opponent in this position played rook c1. She's like, I don't want this pawn to be pinned anymore. And then, so she can play rook c1 and then the plan is to go rook c5. But here, Humpy played f4 anyways. She's like, I'm ready to sacrifice the pawn, but I need to create weaknesses in white's position. So what's her idea? Let's see. So e takes f4 has been played. This is an isolated pawn. So that's fine, but Humpy is down a pawn. But she was not going to give it just like that. She played rook e4 in this position, putting pressure on the isolated pawn and putting pressure on the f pawn as well. Now, if white defends the f pawn, then she can just capture the d pawn. And the problem what would happen is, this pawn could become weak. After b3, there can be rook b4 ideas or rook d3 ideas after the rooks get exchanged. And things can get a bit tricky for white. So, white decided that she would just defend this d4 pawn and continue. So, Humpy took the pawn. Now, you can say she has slight advantage because of this isolated pawn. And white cannot push it yet because of the a4 pawn being attacked. So, she played b3 with the intention of playing d5 and trying to get rid of that weakness. But Humpy is not going to allow that to happen so easily. Rook d5. Now, she blocks that isolated pawn from being pushed. So, it's important that in this endgame, whatever weaknesses are, of course the biggest one being this isolated pawn, white is not allowed to get it exchanged. Then she played g3, now rook f7. So there is a plan. There can be some rook d7 ideas or c5, but this king can also come in. So it's not like Humpy is right now in a rush. She might also bring the king. She might push the queenside pawns also to do something. So she is not in a rush. There is a small weakness in white's position, and especially in the rapid time control when the time is less, and as I said, the stakes are pretty high, so players can make mistakes. So putting the pressure slowly is quite important. So white played b4 in this position. So it's really important that there is this one weakness we already discussed, but white has defended it. So Humpy creates another weakness by playing a5. So b takes a5, rook takes a5. This pawn has also become a weakness. Now she'll try to juggle between those two weaknesses and put pressure on white. So her opponent decided to sacrifice the pawn. She's like, enough. I'll give my a4 pawn, but I want to exchange my de-isolated pawn, and then I'll defend this endgame. Yeah, that's so. It's if white defends accurately, then it's a draw. Yes, but if white defends accurately, and we know that when the pressure is high, the stakes are high, mistakes can happen. So, and we noticed in the World Championship where Ding Liren, he was down a pawn, but the game was a draw and he blundered and he lost the game. So, such type of positions can be incredibly difficult to defend, especially when the tournament is in the last phase, the last round. So, c takes d5, rook takes. So, instead of playing rook takes d5, she played rook d4 in this position. She's like, I'll defend this pawn. Humpy is like, okay, I'm not worried. I'll improve my rook's position. Then she'll attack this pawn now because she wants to capture this. So this becomes a pass pawn. So rook b1 was played, rook takes e4. Although this pawn was captured, but Humpy is not worried. She has got a pass pawn. So on the d file, so that's good. So she defends it. King f3. Now she cannot get the king out from here. So she tries to get it from the other way around. So king e3, rook e4 check, king f3. Then in this position, so in this position, white is actually not going king d3 because she's worried about the king getting cut off and Humpy being able to put pressure on these pawns. So she's like, I'll stay here defending the pawns. So then Humpy improves the king's position. Rook d7, rook e5. Rook is doing a nice job of actually defending this pawn and cutting off this king. So rook d6 check was played. King d6. By the way, you have to be careful while playing moves like this, because if the pawn is on h4, then g4 would be a checkmate. Or if the pawn was on g5, then g4 would be a checkmate. Of course, Humpy is not going to blunder like this. But yeah, when you're playing in an endgame, and even if less pieces are there, so it doesn't mean the danger is over. Please be cautious. So our opponent played rook d7, attacking that g5 pawn. Then king f6, then g4 was played. Here, the position, so despite having an extra pawn, it's not that easy for Humpy to make progress, because the problem is this rook is sort of stuck in terms of defending this pawn. This pawn cannot be pushed because it will get captured. The king cannot go here. This pawn will get captured. And even if the king goes here, it's not like Humpy is improving a position a lot. So what she did, she tried to change the position a bit. She tried to exchange one of the pawns. Now, if you are down in material, then you should not exchange the pieces, but you should exchange the pawns. The defense becomes a bit more easier. So I think in this position, if white had played something like g takes h5 and then king g4 or something, it shouldn't have been too difficult for her to defend. But here is where she made the blunder. And then, so king f4. So she wanted to improve the king's position. Looks like a natural move at first, but now there is a problem. Humpy is not only able to avoid the exchange of pawns, but also gain space. And then she did not give a single chance. That's the quality of a great player, that once given an opportunity, they will seize it. And then they will not allow the opponent to make a comeback. So Humpy played g5 check in this position. She's like, I'll restrict your king with her tempo. Her opponent played king f3. Now what? To exchange or not? Of course, we are not going to exchange this. Humpy is not going to exchange it. She knows that after this, the h3 has gotten weaker. The king cannot come to f4. She has got the space. She has got the weaknesses of the opponent that she wanted. And now she'll outplay her. And another important point in this position is that the pawn is not on h6. The pawn is on h4. So what's the difference? See, this pawn defends this pawn. This rook defends this pawn. This rook defends this pawn. So the king is totally free. That's what Humpy wanted. She wanted that king to become free, not just defending those kingside pawns. And then rook d6 check was played. She played king e7. Then in this position, white played rook a6, cutting off the king in this position. Humpy is like, I'm not worried. I'm ready to go into the king and pawn endgame. Since I'm over pawn, I'd be easily winning. So rook a7 check. The king gets forward. King d6. The rook a6 check. The king gets forward. King e5. Rook a5. So she's not allowing Humpy to push the pass pawn. No worries. Now she can slowly build up the position. Rook b6. She wants to play rook b3 check, improve the rook's position and restrict white's king. So rook a3 was played by white. Now Humpy improved the king's position. If not for the rook's position, she will improve the king's position. Then rook a4 check, king c3, rook a5. So if she pushes the pass pawn, then this pawn will go. She is not going to allow any of such counterplay. It's time to give a check. And then it's time to give a check again. And then it's time to defend this pawn. So then, but then we'd be like, wait, what? How will she be able to push the pass pawn? No, she has a very cunning idea right now. She wants to play king b4. So rook cannot get on b5. Rook cannot get on c5. Rook cannot remain on a5. And then this pawn will get pushed once the rook is not there on the 5th rank anymore. So a really nice idea. Rook c5 check was played. King b4. Now the rook will have to move and the pass pawn will get pushed. Rook c8. Of course, she pushes the pass pawn. Then in this position, rook b8 check was played. King c3. Rook c8 check was played. King d2. Now she's planning to push pass pawn again. So rook a8, just d3. Rook a2. It looks like white will be able to give the checks from the sides, but no. Humpy has seen more. King c3 check. King c2 check. Now king b3. So if the rook goes to d2, then king c3, and then this pawn will get pushed. That is lost. And if the rook goes somewhere here as well, this pawn will get pushed, and then that is actually also lost for white. So a fantastic technical endgame win by Koneru Humpy to win the World Rapid Championship. Let's hope for the best for the Bliss Championship that is about to begin once again. Hearty congratulations to Koneru Humpy on her fantastic victory. And thanks everyone for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next video.